Hello, this is Joe from Nerd in Korea. We are continuing our budget Merfolk series. We're doing the second video here on Merfolk card draw. So what are we covering? I'm covering what I am calling exemplars. I forgot my light also. These are creatures that have a high affinity for one particular color. We have already covered rats for black and goblins for red. So here's what I think they are. Yeah. Black rats, red goblin, green elf. I think that's the most obvious one. Blue merfolk and white leonin. A commenter actually helped me with those because I was thinking soldier and wizard maybe, but yeah. Merfolk and leonin sounds right to me anyway. What about merfolk? So their main color is definitely blue. I think their secondary color is green. So there's a lot of very good green things. And green seems to tend a lot more to like having +1/+1 counters, and blue has a bit more varied tactics. So anyway, main strategies are counters, card draw, bounce, tap, untap. We are looking at the card draw right now, so yeah, that's what this is about. So this is the second video of the Merfolk series where we are looking at card draw. I already said that, so anyway, keep going. What do I mean by budget? I mean $2 or less according to the TCG market value. That's what I'm using. They are not a sponsor. Nope. Merfolk card draw. So I'm usually able to cut the list down fairly easily into an honorable mention list and a top 5. I hummed and hawed over this for quite a while. But yeah, I end up making 2 honorable mention lists because like I could not cut this list down. I was moving things back and forth on the list for like an hour last night. And I could not figure out, like, every time I thought, I was like, okay, I'll put this on the top 5 and I'll put this on honor. Oh no! Oh! China! It's recording! Oh, you're ruining it! Oh no! I'm kidding. Anyway, my wife is home. I guess you don't just see me teasing my wife, but anyway. There is too much good stuff, basically, from Merfolk card draw, so yeah. I found it impossible to lower it down to even 8. So, yeah. Alright, our first honorable mention list. These ones are all under 10 cents. Vohar Vodalian Desecrator. Allows you to draw a card and then discard a card, and if that card that you discard is an instant or sorcery, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. This is very, very good with Madness, right? Madness, if you have a Madness outlet, it lets you just like cast that thing, discard it, do the 1 damage, and yeah, you just get all the benefits, okay? And then you, for 2, you can sacrifice Vohar and cast something, an instant or sorcery from your graveyard. And then if it would go back to your graveyard, it's exiled. The ideal thing is Adventure, right? You can cast an Adventure. It goes into exile again, so it does not go back to your graveyard, and that puts it like that basically right. That keeps it from going back to your graveyard. You can cast it as a creature again, essentially. And what you'd want to do is use black to keep pulling Vohar back out of your graveyard, and then he's going to be able to keep pulling instant sorceries out of your graveyard. So yeah. Fallow Sage. Whenever Fallow Sage becomes tapped, you may draw a card. This is definitely very useful. Again, there's plenty of commanders where it says if you tap a creature or if you tap a particular type of creature, it gives you benefit. This will let you draw a card as well. Useful. River Wise Augur. And when he enters the battlefield, draw 3 cards, then put 2 cards from your hand on top of your library in any order. Basically, brainstorm, right? Why I think this is actually better, even though it costs more. It is a 2/2 creature, so for 4 that's not great, but if you can flicker this, it's just brainstorm on demand, right? You don't want to put him in combat. You want him sitting on the battlefield and just like, yeah, blink him over and over and over, and you just keep setting up whatever you want and like filtering your hand however you want. Just a very crazy good ability. And yeah, especially, sorry for going back, with Miracle, right? The main thing with Miracle cards, you can set up your next turn to have like kind of an explosive turn to get that major cost reduction on the miracle card. So yeah, that's what I would use him for. And all of these are 30 cents and under. Alright, so Seafloor Oracle. Whenever a Merfolk you control deals damage to a player, draw a card. So this is dependent on you having a Merfolk Kindred synergy, but always nice. And Cold Eye Silky has Island Walk. Island Walk, I think especially in Commander, people think that they're all kind of the same. Island Walk really isn't. I think it's very rare where like people have no blue at the table. There's no islands at the table, very, very rarely, right? Blue just has so much function in Commander that it's hard to skip over having islands. Anyway, so when it deals combat damage to a player, you may draw that many cards. Again, throw some equipment or +1/+1 counters on this and just start like raking in the cards and doing damage without them being able to like block. Really amazing. Deep Root Wayfinder. So whenever this deals combat damage to a player or battle, whatever. Surveil 1, then you may return a land to from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. This again, a land, not a basic land, a land. This kind of ramp that you can get out of this is crazy, especially if you're doing one of like, what I always like to do is for a budget version is like the, what I'm already spacing on it. Capenna, new Capenna fetches. You got one of them in your graveyard, pull it back out, it immediately gives you 1 life, sacrifices itself, and then, yeah, or sacrifices itself, you gain 1 life and you search out something from your graveyard, and then every time you attack, you just keep doing that if you want to. Or you can surveil and hope that you get a land and throw that into your graveyard and then pull it straight out and put it back on the battlefield. Kind of like a card sorting ramp combination that is, I think, even better than card draws to a certain extent because you only get 1 land drop per turn. This is like a second land drop option that can have all kinds of functionality. Remember, the surveil card, the land you pull out of your graveyard does not have to be one of the surveil cards. It's any land in your graveyard. Okay, number 1, Sig River Cutthroat. At the beginning of each end step. Okay, this is a really important phrase. Each end step. If an opponent lost 3 or more life this turn, you may draw a card. So basically, if one opponent deals 3 or more damage to another opponent, you draw a card at the end step. Especially as the game goes on, there's going to be fewer and fewer turns where I think people don't deal at least 3 damage to another opponent. Quite possibly you're going to be drawing a card every turn off of this. That's crazy. Anyway, 141 for that. Second one, Elandra Sky Dreamer. So, if you draw your second card on a turn, you make a Drake. And yeah, if you draw 5 or more cards on a turn, her and all your Drakes get +X until end of turn, where X is the number of cards in your hand, which is at least 5, right? If you've activated it, it's minimum +5/+5. So your Drakes are going to be 7/7 flyers. And probably I would of course pair this with Tarlind, right? Tarlind. She's almost like a better version of Tarlind, I think, because not every deck is using a lot of instants and sorceries. Every deck is drawing cards, though, right? I think this is a more likely thing to activate for most decks, but anyway. And yeah, it's kind of like at Tarlind plus a win con. And easier to activate Tarlind with a win con. And you can just put both in, right? If you really want to be mean, put both in a deck and really mess stuff up. Anyway, 46 cents. Deep Fathom Echo. This is one that's so cheap and I don't get. This is one of the ones where I look at it and I'm like, this got passed over somehow. Anyway, at the beginning of each combat, Deep Fathom Echo explores. So again, when you explore, reveal the top card of your library. Put that card into your hand if it's a land, otherwise put a +1/+1 counter, and then you can put it back or put it into your graveyard. So it gives you that card sorting. Maybe going to your graveyard doesn't sound great. If you don't want the card though, it's better in your graveyard than in your hand. It really is. And if it's a land, it's guaranteeing you a land draw. That's again, I look at it as kind of like an improved version of draw, but anyway, maybe not. The sorting especially, people underestimate sorting, I think. Anywho, then you may have it become a copy of another creature you control until end of turn. It'll just become a copy of any creature, other creature you control until end of turn. That is so abusable. There's so many things you can set up and do with that it's just crazy. It's just crazy. Any ability you want to double, you can just do it, right? 12 cents for that. For 12 cents, that's ridiculous. Especially Simic and activated abilities. Oh boy, oh boy. Spazan Air. Whenever Spazan Air becomes blocked, you may draw 3 cards. So this may not sound like a great thing. I know people really don't like cards that are dependent on your opponents doing things. You don't really want this for the card draw. You want this more for like combat tricks, right? I think when on its face, you think, oh, it's a 1/1, it'll just die. If they block it, they're just basically giving you 3 cards, and that will stop most people from blocking it. People think like effects like what was I just thinking? Or pillow fort effects anyway are just like very good for stopping attacks. They don't think about like things where you're stopping blocks with like card draw as the benefit for you. A lot of times people are like, oh, I don't want to give you 3 cards, I'll take the 1 damage. And then you throw start with the instant combat tricks, and that's where you really get the huge benefits out of this card. Anyway, 119. Tishana, Voice of Thunder. Oh, so its power and toughness are equal to the number of cards in hand. So that's kind of potentially a bad thing, but hopefully a good thing. You have no maximum hand size. This ability is so good. Really, the more sources you have in a deck of no maximum hand size, the more you can like throw in just ample amounts of card draw and not be worried about just discarding like crazy, right? So when Tishana enters the battlefield, draw a card for each creature you control. Again, Tishana and Alandra, right. Alandra on the battlefield, play Tishana. Alandra's are probably already made a whole bunch of, Drakes. She's already made a whole bunch of Drakes. And for every even token creature, you're going to draw a card. And then you got that huge card draw. And that's going to trigger her other ability. It's basically a win con right there, I think. Anywho, that is 23 cents. Oh, please hit like and subscribe. It's greatly appreciated. The list. Sig River Cutthroat is 141. Alandra Sky Dreamer is 46 cents. This is just better Charland. This is just a better Charland. Or get both, you know? Deep Fathom Echo is 12 cents. Spazan Air is $1.19. And Tishana Voice of Thunder is 23 cents. I love that the formatting changes if I save it and close it and open again. But anyway, alright, take it easy.